The desperate playth rain fell hard on the streets of the alien city, turning the metal roads into shimmering rivers under the neon lights. Evan pulled his hood tighter and walked faster, his boots splashing through shallow puddles. He had finished. His work here, just a small trade job. And now he was eager to leave this strange place behind. The air smelled of burning fuel and wet metal. The sound of distant engines mixing with the chatter of alien voices. The city was alive, but cold. It wasn't his home. And it never would be. As he turned a corner, something moved in the shadows ahead. At first, he thought it was just another street vendor. But then he saw her, a girl not human. Not like anyone he had ever met. She staggered forward, her thin frame shaking with every step. Her skin was pale, almost silver, with glowing lines that pulsed weakly along her arms and neck. Her breathing was shallow, her lips trembling as if each word took effort. Then she looked at him, eyes wide, with fear and pain. She stumbled the last few steps and grabbed his sleeve with surprising strength. "If you don't help me, I will die," she whispered, her voice breaking. Evan froze, caught between confusion and shock before he could ask what she meant. Her knees gave out and she collapsed against him. He caught her awkwardly, her skin strangely warm, almost burning. She was light, too light, as if she had not eaten in days. Around them, alien passersby slowed but did not stop, their eyes cold and judgmental. Some muttered something in a language Evan barely understood. But one word came through clearly: mating. "Fever," he frowned, not knowing what that meant. The girl's breathing was ragged, her glowing lines fading even more. "Help. Please," she gasped, her fingers gripping his coat as if she could hold on to life itself. Evan's instincts told him to find a medic. But when he glanced at the bystanders, none of them moved. They only shook their heads and walked away. It was as if her suffering meant nothing to them. His jaw tightened. He hated that kind of cruelty. He shifted her weight in his arms and began walking. The rain poured harder, soaking them both. Her head rested weakly against his chest, her breath shallow and uneven. Every few steps, she made a faint sound, like she was trying to speak. Finally, in a voice barely louder than the rain, she whispered, "Don't let them take me." Evan didn't know who they were, but he could hear the terror in her words. Something in her tone told him that if she went back to whoever she feared, she wouldn't survive. He didn't have a plan. But he knew he couldn't just leave her here. He kept moving, looking for shelter. They passed through a narrow alley lit by flickering signs. Some aliens in long coats stepped aside, watching him with guarded eyes. One of them, an older male, with cracked skin and a missing eye, muttered, "Human, leave. Hirsch is already gone." Evan ignored him and kept walking. The girl stirred in his arms, her eyes opening halfway. "Name?" "Lyra," she whispered. He glanced down at her. "I'm Evan," he said quietly, though he wasn't sure if she even heard him. Her eyes fluttered shut again at the end of the alley. He saw a faint light from an old clinic sign. It looked half abandoned. But it was the only chance. He pushed the door open with his shoulder. Stepping inside, the smell of herbs and metal filled the air. An old alien doctor sat behind a counter, his eyes narrowing at the sight of the girl. "She has mating fever," the doctor said flatly. "She will be dead in 3 days without a mate." Evan blinked, not sure he understood. "What does that mean?" The doctor's gaze was cold. "It is a biological cycle. Her body is shutting down because it has no chosen partner." Evan looked at Lyra, limp in his arms, and felt a wave of disbelief. This was not the kind of problem he had ever imagined. "Facing she's dying now," the doctor continued, "and no one here will help her. All laws forbid it if she cannot find her own mate." Evan could feel her weak heartbeat against his arm. He set her gently on a cot, rainwater dripping from his jacket. Her eyes opened for a moment, locking on his. "I choose you," she whispered, before her strength gave out again. Evan's chest tightened. Unsure what she truly meant, but he knew one thing: walking away wasn't an option. Asterisk the truth about her species, the clinic was quiet, except for the sound of dripping water from Evan's soaked clothes. Lyra lay on the cot, her glowing lines dimming with each passing minute. Evan stood over her, feeling useless. The old alien doctor stepped closer, his movements slow and deliberate. "You don't understand." "Human," the doctor said, his voice low but firm. "Her kind is different." Evan crossed his arms. "Then explain it." The doctor's eyes flicked to Lyra, then back to Evan. "Her species, the Ilari, are bound to a life cycle that only happens once," he began. "They reach a point where their bodies demand a matif. They cannot bond before that time ends. Their bodies shut down." Evan frowned. "Shut down? You mean they die?" The doctor nodded slowly. "Yes, and she is at the final stage." Evan glanced at Lyra again, the faint glow along her neck barely visible now. The doctor continued. "She has less than 3 days, maybe less, before the fever takes her." The word fever didn't sound like any illness. Evan knew it sounded like a curse. "What about medicine?" Evan asked. "Can't you just treat her?" The doctor shook his head. "No drug can stop it." Tonally. "The bond can." Evan's stomach tightened. "Bond? What kind of bond?" The doctor hesitated, clearly weighing his words. "It's not just physical," he said. "It is an exchange of life essence to souls, linked thoughts and emotions shared forever." Evan stepped back slightly, the idea hitting him harder than he expected. "You're telling me the only way to save her is to—" He stopped, unable to say it out loud. The doctor gave a slow nod. "Yes, but only if she chooses you, and you accept her willingly." Evan turned to Lyra, who had been silent until now, her lips parted slightly, her voice a weak whisper. "I already chose." Her eyes met his pale, glowing faintly, yet filled with a strange kind of certainty. Evan's chest tightened, caught between disbelief and something he couldn't name. "Why me?" he asked. "You don't even know me?" Lyra's lips trembled into a faint smile. "Because you didn't look away." Before Evan could respond, the door to the clinic burst open. 3 alien figures stepped inside, tall and armored. Their eyes scanned the room until they landed on Lyra. One of them spoke in a cold voice. "She is defective. She is to be taken into custody." Evan felt his muscles tense. "Custody? She's dying." The alien ignored him. "Better she dies quietly than disrupt our order." Lyra's hand reached for Evan's sleeve, her grip weak but desperate. Her eyes pleaded with him, without a single word. Evan's mind raced. He didn't understand all the details, but he understood one thing. If they took her now, she wouldn't survive the night. The lead officer stepped forward, but Evan moved between him and the cot. "You're not taking her," he said firmly, his voice cold. The alien officer tilted his head. "And what will you do, human?" "She's not your responsibility." Evan glanced back at Lyra, her breathing shallow, her glowing lines fading almost to nothing. He looked the officer in the eyes. "She is now." Oh. The silence that followed was thick. The rain outside the clinic still pounding against the metal roof. For a moment, no one moved. Then the officer's voice turned sharp. "You have 3 days, human, after that. If she is still alive and unbonded, we will come for her." Evan didn't answer. He just reached for Lyra's hand. Her skin was still hot, her pulse faint but steady. In her eyes, he saw fear, pain, and something else. Trust, and he knew, without a doubt, his life had just taken a turn he couldn't reverse. The choice: no one wanted the clinic door closed behind the armored officers, but their presence still lingered like a shadow in the room. Evan stood beside Lyra, his jaw tight, his hands curling into fists at his sides. 3 days, that was all. The time they had, and he still didn't fully understand what this bond truly meant. Lyra's eyes were half closed, her breathing shallow, but she was awake enough to sense his thoughts. "You're thinking about leaving?" she whispered. Her voice thin as silk. Evan shook his head. "I'm thinking about how to keep you alive." The old doctor moved to check Lyra's pulse, his face unreadable. "You must understand." The doctor said quietly, "If you choose this path, there will be no going back. Her people see a bonded pair as one life, not two." Evan frowned. Meaning, the doctor said slowly, "if she is harmed, you will feel it if you are harmed. She will feel it if one of you dies. The other may not survive." Evan let out a slow breath. The weight of the decision pressing on him, he looked down at Lyra, who was watching him with a mixture of hope and fear. Her glowing lines flickered faintly, like a candle struggling in the wind. "Why me?" he asked again, his voice softer now. Lyra's lips curved in the faintest of smiles. "Because you didn't walk away." Those 5 words cut through every excuse forming in his mind. Outside, the sound of rain hitting the metal roof grew louder. The doctor stepped back, letting Evan think, but before he could decide, the clinic's comms device crackled to life. A distorted alien voice spoke. "To the human protecting the defective Illyria, you have until sunrise tomorrow to turn her in. Or you will be hunted." Evan froze. "I thought we had 3 days." The doctor's face darkened. "They've decided to accelerate it. They fear what a bond with a human might mean." Lyra's fingers twitched, reaching for his hand. "Please," she said weakly, "I don't want to die alone." Her words weren't a plea anymore. They were the truth laid bare. Evan knelt beside her, feeling the heat from her skin, the fragile pulse under his fingertips. He remembered the way everyone on the street had looked at her like she was worthless, like she didn't deserve to live. He hated it. He wasn't a hero. But something in him refused to let her die just because others had already decided she should tell me how to do it, he said finally, his voice steady. Lyra blinked, surprised. "You mean it?" He nodded. "I'll help you whatever it takes." Her eyes filled with relief, but also something deeper, something that made his chest feel strangely warm. The doctor stepped forward, his tone graved. "Then you must leave the city tonight. They find you before the bond is complete. They will kill you both." Evan stood, already planning their escape. He didn't know what the coming hours would bring. But he knew this. He had made his choice, and for reasons he couldn't yet explain, it felt like the only choice he could live with. The bonding ritual. The city felt darker that night, its neon lights flickering like nervous eyes watching from the shadows. Evan kept his hood low, carrying Lyra in his arms as if she were made of glass. Her glowing lines were brighter now, but they flickered with every step, warning him she was running out of time. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflective, amplifying every sound of his boots against the metal ground. Somewhere behind them, he could hear distant engines, too steady, too purposeful to be random. "They're looking for us," Lyra murmured weakly, her breath warm against his neck. "I know," Evan said, tightening his grip. "We just need to get somewhere safe." The old doctor had given him directions to an abandoned human outpost on the edge of the city. It was a relic from the early days of trade between humans and aliens, now left to rust in silence. They reached the outskirts, the noise of the city fading into a low hum. The building stood tall but broken, its walls streaked with rust, its windows cracked like old bones. Evan pushed the heavy door open, the creak echoing in the empty halls. Dust hung in the air, catching the dim light. From outside, Lyra's gaze swept over the place, her voice trembling. "It's quiet." "Good." Evan laid her down on an old cot in what used to be a med bay. Her glowing lines began to shift in patterns he hadn't seen before. "This is the start," she whispered. my body. It's calling for the bond. Evan crouched beside her, unsure of what he was supposed to do. You need to guide me, he said. I don't want to hurt you. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. You can't hurt me, only save me. She took his hands in hers, her skin warm like sunlight. The bond. It's more than touch, she explained softly. It's trust when we begin. Your thoughts will be open to me, and mine to you. Evan's heartbeat quickened. The idea of someone seeing every part of him, his fears, his regrets, his memories, felt heavier than any weapon he had carried. What happens if I fail? He asked quietly. Lyra's eyes didn't waver. Then I die. Silence filled the room, broken only by the faint hum of distant power lines outside. Evan inhaled deeply and nodded. Then I won't fail. She squeezed his hands, the glow on her skin spreading to her fingertips, slowly moving toward him like flowing light when it touched his skin. A strange warmth surged through him, not painful, but overwhelming. Images flashed in his mind, moments from her life. Laughter, tears, the cold isolation of being unwanted. He felt her pain as if it were his own. Don't resist it, she said. Her voice a soft echo in his thoughts. Evan let the flood of emotions wash over him, feeling the bond weaving between them. Her breathing steadied, her glow brightening. But then a sharp sound shattered the moment. Footsteps outside, heavy and fast. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. They found us. Evan stood quickly, pulling his sidearm from his belt. Finish it, Lyra urged, her voice strained. No matter what happens, finish it. The door rattled under the force of someone trying to break it down. Evan turned back to her, torn between defending them and completing the ritual. Her glowing lines pulsed faster, like a heartbeat racing against death. He realized there was no more time. If they didn't finish now, she wouldn't last another hour. He dropped to his knees beside her, his hands clasping hers again. The door burst open, shadows filling the room. But Evan didn't look away from her. The bond had to be completed, even if it meant facing death in the next breath. The interruption, the door slammed open with a deafening crack, sending shards of rusted metal skittering across the floor. Evan didn't flinch. His eyes stayed locked on Lyra, their hands still connected, the glow between them growing brighter. With each second, 3 armored alien soldiers stormed inside, their boots heavy against the old metal floor. Their weapons glowed with a cold blue light aimed directly at Evan's chest. Step away from her, human, the leader barked, his voice like grinding steel. Evan didn't move. Not going to happen, he said, his tone calm but sharp. The glow on Lyra's skin flared briefly, then flickered weakly. Her breathing hit. She was slipping again. Evan could feel it through the strange link forming between them, her life force hanging by a thin thread. One of the soldiers stepped forward, raising his weapon. Evan's free hand shot to his sidearm, pulling it in one smooth motion. The sound of the safety clicking off echoed through the room. You fired that, Evan warned, and you kill her too. The soldiers hesitated, but only for a second. A blast of blue energy shot past Evan's shoulder, slamming into the wall behind him. Dust and sparks rained down, the air filling with the smell of scorched metal. Lyra gasped, her glowing lines dimming fast. Evan, she whispered, now. Finish it now. Her voice was desperate, each word trembling as if it might be her last. Evan dropped low, pressing both his hands firmly over hers. The light between them surged again, a deep warmth flooding his chest and racing to every part of his body. The soldiers advanced, their weapons humming louder. Evan's mind filled with flashes of Lyra's memories running through forests under twin moons, hiding from those who hunted her, nights spent alone in the cold. He understood, now this wasn't just about survival for her. It was about finally being seen, finally not being alone. The leader raised his weapon for a killing shot. Evan reacted. Without thinking, pulling Lyra against him, he fired 2 quick rounds. The shots hit the floor near the soldiers, forcing them back a step, buying precious seconds. "Keep them away from me." Lyra's voice echoed in his thoughts. Not just. In his ears, Evan gritted his teeth and held the connection, ignoring the chaos around him. His shoulder burned from the strain of holding her and aiming his weapon at the same time. A soldier tried to rush forward, but Evan kicked the medbay's metal tray stand into his path, sending him stumbling. Lyra's glow flared once more brighter than before. Her eyes opened wide, locking onto his. "It's working," she whispered, her voice almost breaking into a sob. Evan felt it to a steady thrum between their hearts, a link growing stronger. The warmth turned into a powerful surge that nearly knocked him back. The soldiers began shouting into their coms, calling for backup. Evan knew they had only moments before more enemies arrived. "Just hold on," he told her, though now he wasn't sure if he was talking to her or himself. The glow between them grew so bright it painted the walls with shifting patterns of gold and silver. Lyra's trembling slowed, her breathing deepening. And then suddenly the glow shifted, solid and steady, like a flame that could no longer be blown out. But the soldiers weren't done. They tightened their grips on their weapons, ready to make one final push. Evan stepped in front of Lyra, the new strength from the bond still rushing through him. He could feel her fear and her determination, as if they were his own. And in that moment, he knew the fight wasn't over, but neither of them would face it alone again. The final moment, the air in the medbay seemed to thicken. The hum of alien weapons mixing with the heavy sound of Evan's heartbeat. The bond was complete. He could feel it, a steady pulse between him and Lyra, a warmth that burned in his chest and refused to fade. Her breathing was stronger now, her glowing lines steady and bright, and in his mind, he could hear her thoughts as clearly as his own voice. "They won't stop," she whispered in his head. "They'll kill you, to break the bond." Evan's jaw tightened, his grip on his weapon firm. "Then they'll have to get through me." The lead soldier stepped forward, visor gleaming under the flickering lights. "You have made a mistake. Human, now you share her fate." He growled. Evan didn't answer, but he felt Lyra's fear spike inside his mind. Sharp and cold, he shifted slightly, placing himself fully between her and the soldiers. The soldier raised his weapon, a high-pitched charge building in the barrel. Evan's body moved before his mind did. He fired, the shot sparking against the alien's armor and forcing him back a step. 2 more soldiers rushed in, their heavy boots pounding the floor. Evan's shoulder burned with every movement, but the pain didn't slow him. He felt Lyra's will pushing into his own, her voice inside his thoughts urging him to stand. Their bond surged again, a wave of energy flowing from her into him, strengthening his arms, sharpening his senses. The next blast from an alien weapon flew past his head, close enough to make the air sizzle. Evan ducked, spun, and fired again, the recoil jolting through his hands. 1 soldier went down, clutching his side, but the others pressed forward. Evan could feel Lyra's heartbeat pounding in sync with his, each thump feeding him a burst of courage. A blast caught his shoulder this time. It punched through his jacket, searing his skin. Pain exploded in his mind, but then he felt Lyra's hand grip his tightly, the bond pulling the agony in half, sharing it between them. He staggered but didn't fall. Her voice came again, stronger now. "Stand, Evan. Please." The last soldier lunged, swinging the butt of his weapon at Evan's head. Evan caught the strike with his forearm and drove his own fist into the alien's chest plate. The alien stumbled back, the glow of his visor flickering. Evan raised his weapon for the final shot, but stopped, hearing Lyra's thought before she even spoke it aloud. "No killing." Her voice echoed in him. Firm but calm, Evan exhaled, lowering his weapon instead. He kicked the alien's weapon away and shoved him toward the door. The soldiers hesitated. Something in the glow surrounding Evan and Lyra made them falter. One spoke quietly to the leader. They are fully bonded. Now hurting one means war with the human colonies. The leader cursed under his breath, signaling the retreat in moments. The room was empty again, save for the two of them. Evan turned to Lyra. His breathing heavy. "You're safe," he said, though his voice was still laced with adrenaline. Her eyes softened, the glow on her skin warm and steady. "No," she whispered. "We're safe." And for the first time since he met her, Evan believed it. A new life. The rain had stopped by the time Evan and Lyra stepped out of the abandoned outpost. The streets of the alien city were quieter now, washed clean by the storm, but the tension in the air still lingered. Evan walked with his hood down. No longer hiding beside him, Lyra moved with steady steps. Her glowing lines bright and even, her eyes alive in a way they hadn't been when they met. They didn't need to speak. The bond between them carried every thought, every small feeling. A glance from her told him she was grateful. A faint smile from him told her she was safe. Some aliens they passed stopped and stared, whispering to each other. Evan could feel the judgment in their eyes, but he could also sense something else: respect. Lyra noticed it too, and for the first time in years. She didn't lower her gaze in shame. They reached the old city gates, where the open road stretched. Toward the mountains, the sun was beginning to rise, painting the clouds with gold. Evan slowed, looking at the path ahead. "We keep moving," he said quietly, and Lyra nodded without hesitation. They walked together, their steps in sync. Lyra glanced at him, her voice soft but certain. "You gave me my life back, Evan." He shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. "No, Lyra, you gave me something too." She tilted her head, curious. "What's that?" He met her gaze, his voice warm. "A reason to fight for more than just myself." The bond pulsed between them, not as urgent as before, but strong and steady. Evan realized that it wasn't just a connection born of survival, was a promise. They would face whatever came next together, no matter how far from home they wandered. Lyra's smile grew, her eyes reflecting the sunrise. "You'll never have to face it alone," she said, and for the first time in a long time, Evan believed that the road ahead might actually lead somewhere worth going. They kept walking until the city was only a shadow behind them. Two lives once separate, now bound by choice and by fate. Whatever dangers waited out there, they would face them as one. And in that quiet morning light, neither of them looked back.